Hey guys, it's Shannon from iHeartRadio Canada, here with Laufey. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? You're saying you're feeling a little tired, border crossing at 2 a.m.?
Yes, I didn't sleep too much, but it's okay because I'm so excited to be here.
Aw, that's so sweet. I'm so glad that you're here. Is this your first press of the day, or have you been doing stuff already?
It is my first press of the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
First. Love it. Feeling special. How's the tour been going?
It
looks
going
incredible.
really well.
Yeah?
Yeah, so much fun. It's definitely a step up from last year was my first tour, and this definitely feels like the first kind of real tour, and it's always such a pleasure to see the fans.
Yeah.
So.
Totally. I feel like I need to thank you for like two things. First of all, for this album, Bewitched, because it is such just like a beautiful gift that you've given to all of your fans. And also for making playing string instruments more cool, because I've been playing violin since I was 4.
Really?
Yeah. And I was always like the orchestra kid. I was never like the cool kid in school. But you really have just like changed the narrative around that, I feel like, which I'm sure you hear all the time.
It's definitely something I've made a point out of doing. I think I grew up, quite the orchestra nerd, and like playing cello and piano, and my whole family we're all musicians, and I think, I always say I became the musician that I needed when I was younger.
Yeah.
Or it became the role model that I wanted when I was younger. So that's awesome. And it's so fun. Like, I would have never expected to connect with so many people over something like that, and there's so many people who grew up playing like classical music or just instruments, and then obviously stopped, but like that is something that kind of like ties us all together.
Yeah, and you've done such a good job of like merging genres in that way too, where it's like not just this thing that feels, I don't know, like almost out of reach for people to be fans of.
Oh, thank
so
you.
Yeah, no, I just love that so much. And like I think growing up, I always was like, anytime I'd hear like strings in a song, I'm like, oh my goodness, like you feel represented.
Exactly. No, me too. That was like any song. If I heard strings, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, I could play this.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. I want to talk about Iceland for a second, because it's making headlines right now for like the strikes that are going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. How has it been for you to like see all of that making national headlines?
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, obviously every woman I know is striking that day, and it's something that actually occurs every single year. We call it like Women's Day.
Wow.
And like there are photos of me when I was like 5 years old holding up like a like a stick, like a what's it called, like a poster thing,
right.
like saying like girls
board.
rock. Yeah. It's just kind of like a a yearly thing that we do, really. And I think this year there was a very heavy emphasis on the wage gap, is that the right word, between men and women. And so yeah, it was really cool. And Iceland is already known as like quite an equal place, so the fact that they're like going and still standing up and talking about it, and like Iceland's such a small country that having I think it was between 70 and 100,000 people gathering, it makes a really loud statement. So it's like it was in news outlets all over the world, and so that does so much more than just fix the problems in Iceland. It
Totally.
speaks to it kind of it's a good show for the rest of the world, I think.
And that's kind of the reaction that I saw too, where people are like, isn't Iceland like the best when it comes to this? And I think that also shows how much everyone else needs to be fighting for this as well.
Exactly.
Right?
But yeah, I think that brought so much awareness to it, and brought like, wow, this country that is already known as being the most equal, they're still fighting for it.
And it's still not fully equal. So yeah,
Exactly.
Go women, equal pay. Yay. Love it. Okay, so with the album Bewitched, I love how much you've talked about how you have kind of like tied your last album to this album, and there's connections between it.
Oh, yeah.
Did the album Bewitched, did it end up being the album that you sought out for it to be?
100%.
Yeah?
It was exactly what I planned for. And I'm pretty good also at like, once I've written the album, recorded, I let it go. Like I've never, which I'm always scared of regretting, but for some reason with my music, there hasn't been a single moment in any of the recordings that I've released where I've been like, oh, I wish I could go back and fix that.
No way.
That's
so interesting.
There's so much beauty in just like having captured something in the moment and let go of it. Like, of course I have like, recordings and moments where I'm like, I maybe would have done it differently now, and maybe even like think are a little bit childish. Not on Bewitched, but like, maybe like my first EP. But I think there's so much beauty in that. That's who I was at that moment.
Yeah, and it shows growth too.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, documenting.
Yeah. Now,
my
when you
growth.
are maybe thinking about what's coming next, were you planning that a little bit when you were doing Bewitched to have it connected in the same way? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
It's all connected.
I love that. And it's just going to add to like the universe of all of your albums. I love that so much. That's so sweet. How do you feel about people? I feel like there's a lot of people that try and like put you into a box or like figure out exactly what genre you are and like put a label on it. But I really feel like a lot of your music, it's hard to kind of do that in a way. How do you feel about like kind of the discourse that's going on around that?
I mean, I think, yeah, it is difficult. The genres that I am, drawing a lot of inspiration from, classical and jazz are genres that typically haven't been mixed up too much. Classical lives in a classical lane, jazz lives in a jazz lane. And I'm very directly taking references from them. So some of my songs slightly resemble jazz standards. Others are almost like classical pieces with lyrics, and other songs are like more like pop songs. And the common denominator for all that is just my writing and my voice. But I think, there's still, I think audiences still, want to find a reason to kind of, put me, in a lane, especially when it comes to these like older genres. But, I really struggle with finding, which genre I'm in. It's truly like a mix of jazz and pop and classical and just songwriter and my hope is that, the walls of genre kind of come down a little bit. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm, a classically trained cellist and pianist, so I will always be a classical musician. I studied jazz vocal for years and, studied the history of it and whatnot. So, and the technique. So I'm a jazz singer. Doesn't mean I wake up every single day and, play a concerto on cello or, do, a round of jazz standards on stage. It's all kind of like a mix. So I think the most important part is just like learning the history of it and understanding where the reference is coming from to do them justice. But yeah, there's definitely been a little bit of like trying to figure out who I am. But yeah. I think I'm just a mix of many things.
Yeah, and I don't think there always like needs to be an answer for that too.
No, not
But it
at
does
all.
feel like people are always like, okay, she's this, or she's like a Disney princess, or she's like Nora Jones, or she's like Frank Sinatra. So how does it feel when people compare you to other artists as well?
I mean, I it feels great.
Yeah.
I'm so honored when people find somebody to, connect me to. Yeah, it's always, I mean, the artists that they reference are always like amazing artists that I'm definitely inspired by, who've done the most incredible things. So I just feel very honored that they can find some way of relating it to something.
Right. Have you heard the AI versions of like the Frank Sinatra AI?
Oh yes,
That's
I've heard
so
all of
insane.
them. I know, it's crazy.
It's so crazy, especially the duet between you and Frank Sinatra.
I know it was a "Let You Break My Heart Again" duet, I think.
Right, yeah.
It was insane. I mean, and that kind of like opened my eye to it, to the, like, these are just songs at the end of the day. Right. Like these Frank Sinatra AI generated versions of my songs, like all of a sudden they sound older. They sound more like Frank Sinatra, esque standards.
Yeah.
Whereas like I've heard like indie rock versions of my songs as well, and it sounds like a completely different thing. So yeah, at the end of the day, these are just songs.
Just songs. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. How do you feel about like the rise of AI in music? Do you think that if the opportunity came up where you were approached and were like, we want to have you do a duet with Ella Fitzgerald, would you be down for that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a little bit old fashioned, so I feel like it would be, it would be interesting. I don't know. I feel like it would almost be cheating or something.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't completely sit right with me, but we'll see.
Yeah, totally. We'll see where the future of music goes.
Yeah, exactly.
How does it feel for you? Because you did get such a rise in fans and such an audience in such a short amount of time. Are there any downsides that come with that?
I mean, not that I've, experienced blatantly in the past few months. I think it's been obviously with the, when you have more followers, there's more love. There's like a little bit more hate as well. And I think I've been learning to tune that out a little bit more recently. But no, it's all been,
been really
good. Very good.
Yeah, I can imagine too with like rising the pandemic and then being able to connect with fans on tour has to be such a like beautiful, wonderful experience.
It's hard to be upset on tour when at the end of the night, no matter what happens, I step on stage and there's just 1,000 beautiful, lovely, supportive faces
Yeah.
singing with me. It's just, there's nothing quite like it.
I know, and your fans just seem so sweet too.
Yeah, they're the
just,
best.
I
They're
know.
so nice and respectful, and you hear so much about concert etiquette nowadays, and how it's like kind of gone out the window post-pandemic, but I just haven't experienced that at all in my concerts.
That's so nice. That's wonderful. Well, how did you and beabadoobee first connect? How did that originate?
So I think I had listened to her music for a while, and I think she had also listened to mine, and we'd never spoken. And last year when she released Glue's song, I could tell that my kind of like my FYP, like my community, like my fans were all listening to Glue's song. So I was like, this is such a cute song, I'll cover it. And B saw it, and she and then we DM'd for a bit, and then this summer I was in London, and I went to one of her shows, and I went backstage and hung out with her afterwards, and we had a session set up for a couple of months out, but we had so much fun, and we're just like, let's just write this week. So like 2 days later we wrote, and it was so much fun. Nice.
Yeah. That's incredible. Do you think the fans had any influence in that? Because I feel like forever they've just been being like, you guys need to collab.
I mean, they have influence on everything, of course. I'm just such a Bee fan that I was like, I want this song to come out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And speaking of like other artists and things, Michael Bublé invited you to a show of his.
Yes.
We love Michael Bublé, our Canadian king. We love him. Would you ever collab with him? Would that ever be?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to make that happen.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Do people call you an industry plant?
No, I haven't gotten any industry plant language yet.
Good, I'm glad. I feel like so many artists in the last while that we've talked to just always are referred to as an industry plant. So I'm glad that's not the case.
I just think the days of industry plant, like you can't, like the crowd, the audience now rules rules the industry. That's what I think. Like, you can. Yeah, I can't even wrap my head around what an industry plant. If you get a leg up, and know people starting out, that's great. But at the end of the day, if audiences don't resonate with your music, like it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like the people that call people industry plants don't even fully comprehend like what.
No, it's like one of these buzzwords that will come up every now and then and is passed around a lot and is just, just thrown out there and easy to say as like a little bit something. But at the end of the day, I think if audiences resonate with something, that's the power nowadays.
Totally.
Which is the reason I really like social media as an artist, which is, obviously a controversial topic for artists because, but I think, the reason I've been able to do what I've done is because it's all been, through my fan base and through direct relationships with my audience. Yeah. Via social media.
Totally. And I think you do such an incredible job at it. Like, it's so natural and it doesn't feel like it's, with some artists, you can kind of sense that their label has been like, make more TikToks.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, nobody tells me to make TikToks. And the second they do, I'll probably stop. I just make them before someone tells me to make them.
That's a good way to be. But it is. You really learn so much about your life with just like following you online. And then I think that gives the song so much more weight because you really feel like.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly, what I kind of attempt to do. It's like illustrate my songs. Like these are my songs and this is like what informs them. This is how I see life on a daily basis and how I, digest this interaction.
Yeah. And to see the reaction in real time too.
Yes. Yeah. It's super cool.
So incredible. Are there any other genres of music that you want to explore?
Yeah. I mean, I really don't close much out. I think I really want to dip more into like film music. Oh, yeah. It's something I really want to do. Yeah, I don't know. I think, I really admire Taylor Swift in that she's been able to kind of like switch up her genre, go back, and then move ahead with something different and do it while still just staying very her. That being said, I don't think my work is done yet in the kind of music I make, and we'll definitely continue doing that for a while. But we'll see.
But that's nice to know too. You can like hop around, but then always come back.
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah, I'm not married to anything. I definitely want to do a jazz standards album, a more like classical leaning instrumental album, and then maybe some more like folky songs.
Yeah, totally. Can you already envision the type of film that you would want to score for?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, my ultimate dream is to write like kind of like a La La Land.
Yeah. Wow. Let's make it. We're manifesting that into the world, putting it out there. Amazing. Thank you so much for chatting today. Such a fan of your music, if you couldn't tell already. But yeah, I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Nice. Thanks, guys.